finding a successor, the right fit for you, it's a time process. And so, what the steps that we're going to walk through are going to be going through market prep, then going to market. Then we're going to be handling communications between you and the buyer, and all the way working our way towards closing. And so, with that kind of market prep stage, our real goal is to learn about your goals, your objectives, and then also kind of get that financial picture, start to put together a valuation. We want to make sure that from a objective standpoint and from a financial standpoint, we're in line with your expectations, that this is the right fit, the right time, everything else for you. Early on in the process, prior to moving forward, so that you can kind of determine this is the direction you want to be headed in. Once we've worked through those pieces, we're going to start building out marketing strategy. Our overall goal is going to be maintain that confidentiality, to make sure that any information that does end up in the marketplace, that you pre-approve of, that you have control over, and can make sure that it does protect that firm confidentiality. And so we're going to prepare those confidential listings, as well as more in-depth materials on your firm to package for those that do complete a non-disclosure agreement and want to do a deeper dive because this could be the right fit. Once we get those in place, you would approve of all that information, make sure it's accurate, make sure it correctly reflects who you are and what you do, and that it presents it in a way that captures your firm well. And so we'd have you approve that to go to market, which is our next stage. During that, we would promote and your listing and firm information, that confidential information, through a variety of channels. And specifically, this is a younger marketplace. And so we do a lot of targeted marketing. We're going to have to go out and really try to find that right fit. So we're going to be, during that market prep stage, figuring out who the right type of buyer is and trying to attract and capture and target those going to market. And so from there, we're going to be that driving force, handling leads, dealing with the tire kickers, getting those non-disclosures in place, and start to feel out those buyer prospects to see if their goals, their objectives, everything else align with your own. And from there, we'll be opening up those initial conversations and going through that process so that by the point where you would be introduced to the buyer, we've done that pre-qualification and really gotten to know if this could be a potential good fit. And that's where you would be brought back in, is to have initial conversations, get to know you, see if that's the right kind of fit personally and professionally, to move on to next stages of deeper dive with each other, as well as on the financials, helping that buyer prepare a letter of intent, an offer, working through those negotiations. This is all a part of that kind of communication stage, where we're going to be that go-between, that mediator, and walking you through, as well as walking that buyer through, as you guys prepare to closing. Once we get an agreement on that LOI, on a letter of intent, so you guys agree on terms, on how the structure works, and how that transition is going to be modeled. We want to see that during the due diligence time leading up to closing, that you're working through with the buyer to learn more about them, to take as deep a dive to get really comfortable, but also building out a very comprehensive, detailed transition plan. How you're going to introduce them to the clients, what kind of language you're going to use, what kind of materials, and how you're going to present it to the rest of the world, how you're going to keep that culture intact and transfer over that knowledge that you have over that time once you guys do close. This is going to give you a really deep insight over the overall fit. And it's going to give you a lot of opportunity to really dive deep with the buyer, as well as ensure that the legacy that you've built is going to be strategically preserved and carried forward into the future. This is a process. And so what we recommend is if you've considered thinking or started thinking about succession planning, maybe it's just popped in your mind, oh, that's something I should do sometime, or, maybe I should start considering this, then it's probably time to go ahead and reach out. Whether we can just coach you up on how to, strengthen the firm and get the most value out of it when ready, or, we're going to be going through that market prep, those negotiations, things of that nature can take a certain amount of time. We often request, give us a year. And then the transition period we expect that might last about 2 years. That's the norm. There are, of course, variances based on your goals, your objectives, but we want to try to prepare you for it, then lead you through the marketing process, and then make sure that you have time for that transition as you are able to slow down and ease into that next step of life.
I think two of the key elements we get asked about a lot from potential sellers looking and exploring this is, control. How much control do I have during the process? And the other is confidentiality. And so, those are two things we take very serious. Is one, confidentiality is maintained throughout. So, whether non-disclosure agreements, pre-approval of any disclosures, we take that very serious to make sure that that key element is preserved. The other is control. We typically work on a success fee. So anybody that we present or kind of go through that process, we want to make sure that, any of our clients, any of our sellers essentially are in control and feel good about the process throughout. They feel good about any potential buyer prospect that we would present. And a lot of that is so that when they get to that point, they understand that they've been able to control the different steps, the approvals, before we go any market disclosures or anything else. So they feel comfortable in making that leap and kind of doing a deeper dive on discussions. The other key element that I think we look at providing to our clients, which is sometimes the biggest value we have, is an accountability. When you're busy taking care of clients, right? Those lawyers are busy taking care of clients. We're still working behind the scenes. So we're having those conversations with buyer prospects throughout the day. We're out there searching. We're, testing different, structures and going through financial disclosure and review. And I think that's a key element is we're making progress even when you don't have time to do so. And so hopefully we can get you to that finish line a little sooner.